Just thought I'd make a quick video showing my new RODI unit that I just purchased. It's a vertek puretek. It's a 100-gallon per day unit. I did a lot of research on this before I bought it, and to be honest with you, of any RODI unit, this is probably the one that I heard or saw or read the most conflicting of difference of opinions. There was a lot of people that really loved it and loved how it worked and thought it was a great value, and then there was a lot of people who thought that it was a waste of money and that it didn't do a very good job, and that it basically would lead to shorter life of the RO membrane, and that it really wouldn't get as much efficiency as it says it does, and on and on and on. I started to make this video giving you my experience with it so far. I've had it for about a week now, and let me first just kind of explain why I even felt it necessary to go from the system that I had, the RO system that I had before, to change it all. When I moved, I literally only moved about 6 blocks away from where I was living, and the water pressure at my new house is kind of fluctuates between 35 and 40 pounds per square inch, which led to me needing to do something. I was only producing like 30 gallons a day on a 75 gallon per day membrane. In 4 months I killed my membrane because there just wasn't enough water pressure. So I knew I was going to have to do something. I knew I was going to have to buy a booster pump, obviously, and I just wasn't sure what the best route was. So that's what started me on this whole journey of trying to figure out what I want to do or how I want to do it. So I knew I needed a booster pump with a shut-off switch, and I knew I was going to need a new membrane. So figuring in those costs and then just seeing what was out there and what I could get for my money, I ultimately came to the decision to get this unit right here. And so far it's been awesome. It's so much more than just an RODI unit with a booster pump, which is like how I hear it commonly referred to. It does some really cool things, and for the amount of stuff that you're getting for your money, even if I do have to replace the membrane a little more often, I'm really not upset about that for what this thing does. Obviously, well, I added that little gauge on the side right there, but it has, the water comes in over here, goes to this T, and it goes into the pre-filter. This end of the T, this is something I always hear people talking about, is this little T right here, and saying that this line's not being filtered because it's going right straight through. This is just going to this back here, which is a pressure switch. If that pressure switch doesn't fill any water, this water source light, or source water light, turns off, and it won't run the booster pump, so it doesn't run it dry. So already right there, that's a bonus. A lot of other ones have it the other way around, where it'll tell if the reservoir is full, which this one does also, but it doesn't know if there's no water coming in. So that already right there was something that kind of piqued my interest. Okay, so the water goes in the pre-filter, then it goes to the carbon, then it goes through the pump, which is cool because at least it's getting, really purified water, or a little bit more than just adding like a pre-filter beforehand. It's got a pressure gauge, then it goes up through the membrane, and then down through the DI stage, where it has where it has a probe for the TDS meter, which right now the last water I was making was 0 parts per million. So in addition to those things, it also is able to perform its own membrane flushes, completely automated. No need for me to remember to do it. It's going to do it really whether I wanted it to or not. This little computer thing right here, I don't know if you consider it a computer, but definitely does more than just read the TDSs in the water. Every time that I'll just show you. If I turn the unit off and turn it back on, the very first thing it's going to do, it's going to count down, and then the very first thing it does is it's going to flush the membrane for 15 seconds. And there you can see. So right now it's not producing water really. It's flushing the membrane, and it's probably going to turn right back off because my reservoir is full. So it does that every time you initially turn it on, or after it's been running for 2 hours, or as soon as the reservoir full switch kicks on. So basically after it fills your container and shuts off the pump, or it's about to shut off, it'll flush it right before it's done, and then it'll flush it again right when you start using it again, and like I said, every 2 hours of use. So that seems cool to me. I really like the idea that it's, built-in maintenance. One less thing. I never remember to flush my RO membrane, and I know it's something super easy and stupid to do, but if there's just one less thing for me to have to remember to do, it's all the better for me. So the other thing, everyone talks about how, this thing comes with it produces 100 gallons per day, which, is more than enough that I would need. I mean, I was doing fine when it was only making 30 gallons a day, to be honest with you. I don't need that much water, but it was running all day, and it was only making 30 gallons. So this thing's only going to run half the day, and it'll fill up my 55-gallon drum easily. The one thing everyone complains about is they're saying that, this kind of high efficiency, 1 gallon of product water to every 1 gallon of wastewater, that kind of high efficiency ratio isn't possible without overdriving the membrane. And I don't care if it's possible or not, to be honest with you. The only thing that would really, I mean, just in all the components that you've received here, this unit was $315, which, yeah, I could have got it way cheaper. But there's no way I could have had this complete system that did all this stuff for that price. I mean, for that price, I don't care, what your arguing part is. Its point is, it's in my opinion, it's a bargain. It didn't come with any knockoff filters. I mean, inside the membrane is a GE RO 100 gallon per day RO membrane, and I mean, all these solenoid valves. I saw someone made a comment saying that they're 120 volt and that's dangerous. I mean, yeah, that's a little bit, more dangerous than having, if they were all 12 volt solenoids and pressure switches. But at the same time, the 120 volt ones are going to last a lot longer than the 14 volt low voltage ones will. So I don't know. I didn't see that as a negative at all. I saw 120 volts as something positive. Obviously you have to use common sense. If you got water all over the place, shut it off or unplug it before you try messing with anything. And if anything does happen, just make sure you have it plugged into a ground fault protected outlet, and you shouldn't have any problems. And even if later on, if I do decide that this thing, it's not really producing 100 gallons per day, or I'm going through membranes like crazy, or something like that, if I decide later on, I could still keep this whole system and switch it to just, like I had before, like just a bulk reef supply, or 75 gallon per day RO membrane. I could just put it in there. The only thing I really have to change would be this little system right here, but I would still be able to utilize the little computer thing, and all the solenoids would still do what they were supposed to be able to do. It would just not produce 50 gallons a day. It'd produce 75 gallons, or not 100 gallons. It would do 75 gallons a day. I'm pretty sure that would be the only difference. I would just basically put a T here, put the 75 gallon per day bleeder, or whatever you want to call it, flow reducer, put another T back down into the solenoid for the bypass, and then that's the one for the drain. So yeah, overall and all, if anyone's really thinking about this thing, I'll update and post some kind of another video and let you know if I do find anything detrimental about this thing. But it's been a pretty excellent unit to me so far, and I'm not having even had anything really make me feel like second guessing my purchase here. So, like always, if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks.